Hey everyone, looks like we are live. We made it to yet another Wednesday. I hope everyone is having a great week. Just throw you guys a curveball. I wanted to do some work on this painting, going over some new techniques, and we're going to continue to train girl, but this is going to be just something where I work the skin tones, kind of lighten things up using with the orange mixture and everything. So it's going to be a little interesting, I hope. It's going to be a lot of interesting. That's what I'm hoping. So we got JC all the way from the Atlanta area. How are you today? We have Stephen Leahy hailing out of Massachusetts in Ohio. Great to see you. We have Dan all the way from Indianapolis. Great to see you. And we have that's everybody so far. So great to see everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful week. We have the wet palette. We have some stencils. We have some illustration colors here, and I think we're gonna have a good time. Oh, JC says, "Great, Tim. How are you? Seems a lot better. So that's great to know." Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, feeling much better. That was a rough time, but thank God that's over. That's for sure. So I'm just going to put some magnets here. Not too many because I don't want to mess up the painting. So I'm really happy with this piece so far. It's going to be fun working. Mr. Dwayne San Luis de Obispo, not banana slugs. Banana slugs. Go Mustangs. Great to see you. How are you today? That's so great. So glad. Mark, how's it going? Mark Dietz, how's everything? So glad to see you. And I'm so glad that you stopped by. Mark, you are from Canada, I believe. Let me see if I got that right, hopefully. Uh, Calgary, I'm thinking, but I could be well off. I'll make a couple of mistakes before I get it 100%. Mr. Michael, all the way from the Baltimore, well, from the Maryland area. So that is so great. And so let me know, Mark. Oh yes. So see, the wheels are starting to turn. It's starting to sink in there, Mark. So that's great. So Calgary, yes. So that is fantastic. And so great. That is amazing. So I did the Drew Blair thing. I kind of parked my airbrushes in water, and we'll see how this works. So one of the things I want to do is I want to kind of lighten things up to darken things up, right? And so that's what I want to do. So right now I'm in the process of lightening things up. So we're going to go a little darker. Air Todd, all the way from San Diego, California. Great to see you. How are you, my friend? I'm so glad you're here. So we're going to work on her flesh, and I believe I have something that allows me to just work on her flesh. And let's see, where is it? Here it is. Well, no, this is not just her flesh, but let me see if I have it. Yes. Okay, here we go. We do have it right here. And we'll put this on there. And this is good because now we can go ahead and, oh man, I'm so sorry. How are you feeling, my friend? Did you get really sick from it? Hopefully it was a mild case. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that, Todd. And Mr. Michael McGlung, how's it going, sir? So glad you're here. Oh, she looks like Katana, but she is just this beautiful woman here, and maybe she's doing some graffiti. So right now I'm just going to make sure that I get this situated. Okay, so the way these things work is that you really got to use them for whatever side you're doing, because over time, they shrink, or we change our contours, we adjust them, and that happens. Oh, just a cough and headache. I'm glad you're feeling better, my friend. You had a light version, so that makes me happy. I had the industrial strength version not too long ago. And so that is Gary. How's it going, my friend? Great to see you. How's everything all the way from the Hershey, Pennsylvania area? So glad you're here, sir. So that is great. And let me just put this over here. So I'm gonna have to work on this area right here. I'm just this part of her arm, and since I don't want to, I definitely don't want to be adjusting, right? I don't want to make more work for myself. That's important. Let's see. So I'm just going to work on her arm, and her arm is significantly lighter. So what I want to do is I want to come in with my orange and white mixture, kind of lighten things up to darken things up, you know? So Gary, how's everything? Getting ready to get your shipment together, and I'm so excited, and so I'm looking forward to what you think. And let's see. So now I'm going to show you how I mix my orange and white mixture. And so I have these that were these little ink flingers, paint strainers, but it needs the little tiny screen. I'm going to go get that to show you guys. Let me do that. Okay, great. So I have these little, and I got this information from Mr. Scott McKay on his live stream on Thursday night. Sometimes he does Friday nights, but great live stream. And let's see, we'll put this here. I usually take like you know, maybe something like this. Make sure I have it strained, and I just have to center it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do for me, but I'll get it. Let's see. We just got to make sure it gets in there. Mr. Roy, how's it going, sir? This young lady will look familiar to you, sir. I'm just going to take it to a little more finished state. There we go. I think that's in there. Nope, not quite how I want it. Three times the charm, right, everybody? That's what I was thinking. Oh, so the David Bowie and the Freddie Mercury are India ink, and on the tinted paper, and it just has a little bit. It has the illustration paint for the lights, and for the highlights, a little bit of white pastel. And it's a pretty cool technique, Gary, and it really is very seamless. So I definitely want to know what you think when you receive them. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So we're going to put that here, and now I'm going to take some of my illustration white, 50/50 illustration. Mr. Ryan, how's it going all the way from Canada? Great to see you, my friend. That is so cool. So what I like to do is coat the bottom of the surface of these little cups. Now put it through here. And I'll just wait till it coats the bottom. I find that usually to be about 20 drops of the 50/50 illustration white. And then I'll just put this here, and then I'll put this aside in another cup right over here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this 1-to-1 with water. Just regular water, 1-to-1. And then I'm going to do 2 drops of Illustration Orange right here. Just 2 drops. 1, 2. If you get a third, no biggie. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my little plastic palette knife and mix that really well. And you see it is quite orange. Now I may have to, that illustration white seemed to be a little intense. You know, whenever you're dealing with colors and everything, you definitely can have more intensity of the paint in a particular bottle, whether it has to do with, you know, absorption and what have you. It could definitely be. Mr. Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship and your support. It means everything to me. You are amazing, and thank you so much for the support, Ryan. Love the work you're doing over there. I see it on Instagram. Just fantastic. So thanks for sharing your work and hanging out with us here on Facebook. So I really appreciate it. So I always like using the Extreme Patriot 105 when it comes. Colette, how's it going? Great to see you. And so here we are. And so again, I doing that Drew Blair technique of just kind of parking my airbrush with water. So it seems a little yellow on a little orange, so I'm going to put a little bit in here. What's the worst that could happen, right, Mr. Leahy? You know, it's only live, right? So what's the worst that could happen? Let's see. So we have this, and I have to find my little cup here. And so Mr. Steve Leahy, I know you may be switching your times. Is tomorrow still 1 o'clock Eastern time for his live streams? Great live streams, just amazing. And Steve says, what could go wrong? Yeah, nothing, right? Nothing. And let's see. So I'm going to be about 3-4 inches away. I'm going to do a practice spray as always. You don't want to do your first spray on your painting. And so my deal, what's my deal? My deal is you need to lighten before you darken, right? So you need to have the sunlight. You need to have the sunlight behind the stained glass, right? Without the sun behind it, the stained glass just doesn't work. Same thing here. If I want to lighten up her shoulders or anything like that, I'm going to need to lighten it up. So right now on her shoulder here, I'm lightening it up, and what's really good is you can see that I'm not getting orange. It's actually lightening it up perfectly. So, well, I wouldn't say perfectly, but I'm happy with it. Let's just say that. And I do have my freehand shield. So look at this. I'm finding stuff today. So that's a new experience, huh? And let's see. So I have my Pure Ref. I'm going to make sure I'm looking at my Pure Ref. And she has this light right here. And we're just going to kind of lighten that up. Now I'm not getting blue shift, but it's not orange either, and it's not white either. But that's okay, I can adjust. And you see how I'm just lightening up that shoulder? So Steve says tomorrow is the last Thursday live for a bit while he works everything out. Okay, will you be replacing that with a different, or just uh, not doing one on Thursday until you know get exactly what you're looking for, knowing exactly what your new schedule is going to be. Kind of like the Saturday morning cartoon lineup when we were kids, right? You wait until September, you know. I used to love when they would have that. So I'm lightening up her arm here. So even when I'm coming darker, I'm going to lighten it up, but not as dark as the super lights that are up here. There's a method to my madness, or a madness to my method, depending on how you look at it. And Steve says, Gary says, Steve going on YouTube on Monday feeds? Oh wow, is that true? That's big news. So so basically that's what's happening right now. Just sort of lightening this area up. And same thing over here. And now I think we're okay. Do I lighten this up? Maybe just the transition tone a little bit. I'm going to lighten up the transition tone, kind of setting up for what I'm doing next. So now what I want to do is I want to take this flesh tone and I want to slowly get darker, right? I want to build up from light to dark. So I'm going to find this flesh tone. I'm going to do that now. Beautiful flesh tone on her. And you want to find a mid-tone. You don't want to go for the highlight, right? You want to go for her mid-tone. And so this way you can go in either direction. So I'm just going to very quickly find it. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's get the ingredients. Okay. So my new color theory technique, I know it's been slow, it's taken a while, but I'm hoping and praying, I know it's going to be worth it. I just hope everyone else thinks it's worth it. So that's what's on the agenda, so to speak. And let's see. And let me go ahead and where are we? There we go. And we will get rid of me there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the ingredients of this particular color. Okay, great. So I have some idea of how to get that color. And it's going to start with illustration orange, not Agent Orange. And let's see, so let's go right here. Okay, so I do see the percentage. Now I have to get the ingredients. Let's see. I don't want to go too dark. Hey there, Patrick! Cheese Grits and NyQuil, great to see you, my friend. How are you? Gary said he used to watch 5 to 6 live artist feeds on Facebook a few years ago. They are evaporating quickly on there. So what's happening? You feel like people aren't doing as many live streams, my friend, on Facebook? I guess because they're probably having this very similar trouble as Mr. Leahy is having. Okay. Now when mixing colors, always, you know, you might have a percentage of this. Someone may say you put a percentage of this and a percentage of that. Well, that's in a perfect world. But when you have different brands of paints, different batches, some might be a little higher in pigments, some might have higher fillers, some could be sitting in the sun, your paints, and so there's a lot of different variables. And let me go ahead and add some water to this mixture here. I put a lot of water in here, so I might, let's see, is this close to the color? It actually is close to the color, but I think it's a little bit on the dark side. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of our orange and white mixture to it. It couldn't wait? Okay. That's really close to what I'm looking for. Mr. Michael, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Really loving what you're doing over there on YouTube with your paintings. I am just totally enamored with your Farrah Fawcett painting. Thank you so much for hanging out and your friendship, and it means so much to me keeping this going. So I just want to say thank you so much for your friendship and support. It means everything, sir. And thank you for the inspiration of the wonderful paintings that you're doing. Definitely. Oh, Gary says limited viewers, lagging dropouts. Oh, wow. So that's really causing what's going on, Gary. Definitely. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put that in my Extreme Patriot Arrow. And we're going to see how that goes. Mr. Patrick, Big Trouble in Little Tokyo. Yes, that's a great painting that Mr. Leahy is doing by far. Mr. Tone, all the way from New York, how's it going? And wow, so Tone did an experiment on Facebook. He had 2 times to get in, and Mr. JC says, Tim, different base pigment, different approach. Yes, definitely. And so now we have this. So I want to say that Mr. Drew Blair, with his technique of putting water in the airbrush and parking it, has been a rousing, a big, huge success. So definitely recommend it. I was skeptical until I did it. And so Michael says, Tim, you are an inspiration of people doing portraits. Thank you, sir. I really love it. You know, ever since I was a kid, I was drawn to portraits. You know, it's very, very strange. So that was always been my, you know, my subject of choice, even as, you know, 3 years old. You know, always wanted to paint my family and Spider-Man and all those guys. So here we have this flesh color. And notice how we take lightening it up before and then going over with the color. Now I'm going to stay in this area, and what I want to do is make sure that I don't have air coming out. I mean paint coming out. I don't. So that's good. So I'm going to increase my distance. And you want to overlap into the mid-tone that I have established. That's okay. You can definitely overlap, you know? And let's see here. And JC says do the same with the big spray guns, Tim. Oh, fantastic. So leaving the water with the big spray guns is really a hit. So 3 cheers for Drew Blair, so that's good. I'm glad. That's some great information. Took me a while. I honestly was, because, you know, when I work in oils and I do paintbrush techniques, you know, there was always like, there's no shortcuts, you know, you have to clean your airbrush, paintbrush. So I kind of brought that mentality into the airbrush world. And so Colette, how are you today? I'm so glad you're here. That is great. So you see, as I'm adding this kind of base flesh tint here, And I'm just going to stay in this area. And so right now, I'm kind of happy with this. I'm going to kind of bring in the flesh color into the darks just a little bit. Now, why am I doing that? Because when I go ahead with the darker color, it'll be more seamless. And I'll remember exactly. I mean, my powers of observation, I'll be able to hit those shapes. I don't have to worry about losing it. I mean, that doesn't go for everyone, but, you know, my experience level, I'm able to, you know, find those contours once more. Blow some air on that, kind of speed up the drying time. That's cool. Now, I'm just going to stay on this arm here. And now that I have that established, maybe I'll come back in with my orange and white mixture. Just dry this up and see if I can add the highlights a little bit. And just like reworking it, bringing it back, that sort of thing. Let's see. So I'm slowing things down, I'm condensing things, right? And that's the way I'm doing that, and so that's cool. True, true, that's true. Solvent and thinner, yes, you don't, I guess you don't want to leave solvent in anything, right? Oh, let me get my, so pure ref is important. Remember everyone, just, you know, keep that in mind, how crucial it is, the 1 second rule. We're never exempt from that. So I'm just going to lighten this up a little bit and shape it. So here we have the deltoid coming down, and then in between the bicep coming up here. And now we can shape it with some of the mid-tones, and that's what we're going to do now. And so, let's see, cheese grits and NyQuil. Mr. Patrick says the best part about painting ninjas is it's okay if you mess up the teeth. That's true. That is very true, my friend. And, you know, you see a lot of people, they might do that if they, all of a sudden, the person becomes a ninja after they messed up the teeth, right? So before, and now I can come back in with this dark. Mr. Dwayne, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you. San Luis de Obispo, that is so amazing. Thank you for all your expertise and all the great insight that you give to the channel and your friendship and your support. It really helps me out. It helps keep the channel going, keeps me inspired, you know, all that stuff. So I don't take it lightly, and it really does, really is like a tonic. So thank you, sir, for your friendship, and it's always great to see you, your hard work, and all your information in the industry just leads to much better and better live streams. So thank you, sir. And Steve says he has a really early morning tomorrow, but he's glad to hang out with you all for a bit. All right, my friend, I'm going to try and see you tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be there, so it's going to be great. I hope I have my wrench, you know. Steve knows what I'm talking about, the wrench. I hope I still have my wrench. And so that is great. And Dwayne says, been busy so far tonight, just got back online. I'm so glad. Oh, cool. So I'm glad you're back, sir. And yeah, I can definitely understand you've been busy, you know, and that's good. Busy means money, right? I think July has been a really rough month for those who are making money as artists. And so that's the general consensus out there. And July was just a tough month all around. I think everyone's on vacation, stuff like that. Okay, so now we're going to hit the mid-tone. Now, you might say, Tim, why aren't you moving on over to, because what I need to do, and with the Gideon color theory method that's coming up, is that I have it all recorded. So if I need to get that color, even if it's next week, next month, 15 minutes from now, I have the tools to get that color and mix it right away. So that is cool. The percentages, everything, it's just a beautiful thing. Tone says it's been a rough year, and Dwayne says yes it does. So that's July has been rough, so that's cool. Uh, but hopefully things are going to get better, but we got to still keep going, and there's no choice but to keep going, and that's how I feel. It's being honest, there's no choice but to do it. Dwayne says he had a couple of nitpicky clients last month, so just now making it up. Oh man, that's rough. So now I'm going to look for the mid-tone, right? So that's this beautiful mid-tone. Okay, I see where I have to go, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I contrast this with the light that we just did. Remember, every color you want to do the hue, what color it is, whether it's orange, red, blue, green, indigo, violet, what value it is from light to dark, and the chroma or the saturation is how much of that color is there, how much of that color is pure. And those are things that, with the Gideon method, you'll be able to hit those three right away with like pinpoint accuracy. And I mean, it's going to be slow getting the course up there, but I want to do it right. Okay, so I do have the ingredients, and let's go ahead and make that happen. Okay, so alright, so we are going back to Mr. Orange, but this is mostly darker. Let's see. Let's see this. That's a little too light. Let's try this value first. Okay. And then we'll use our orange. Remember, all colors are not created equal. So you have to make sure that even though you may have a percentage, you have to take into account that colors act differently. They have different strengths, right out of the bottle. So if something says it's this percentage, tread lightly, because you don't know if that's going to translate when you mix colors that are different percentages. Okay, so now I'm going to add some water. I like doing a 1-to-1 on water to go through the airbrush. That's the consistency that we're looking for, and so that's what we're doing. Now there are times where you might see a color like this, and you might be pretty close, but then you might say to yourself, self, it looks like it needs a little more color. So that means your chroma or your saturation is a little too weak, right? So if we were to pull this back up, we can say, maybe we'll go ahead and put a little more of the hue in there, because more hue means more chroma, more saturation. Less hue means less chroma, less saturation. So, as you're painting, you can see that this is getting closer. It has a little more of the saturation, but you want to make sure that you feel totally good. So I'm going to put a couple more drops of, so it's all these different shifts, right? These bars that go back and forth to kind of, when one goes up, one goes down, right? So I'm actually happy with that. I mean, it's a little more less chromatic, but that's okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out this lighter flesh tone that we were using here. Put that here. I'm going to leave a little bit in there. I'm going to blow it out, but I'm not going to clean it out. and I'll tell you why, because it kind of will lighten it up and with the color that it's going next to, so you know it's not a bad thing. And let's see. All right, so now, so we have to basically, let's see. So Dwayne's Cheese Grit says, don't mix paint over your work, Tim. So true. Have I been doing that? Not good, right? Oh man, thanks for the warning. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's all fun and games until paint falls on your painting. And Michael says this weekend he's going back to work on American graffiti painting. Oh man, that's great. I can't wait to see that, sir. Really looking forward to that. Let me put some of these little magnets. The big magnets are great, but they cast a shadow. And you know, you might be like, big deal, but if it casts a shadow, you might think that that shadow is actually your paint. And then all of a sudden, you're not putting paint where it should be because it looks like it's dark. Okay, so now I have this beautiful mid-tone here. And I'm just going to work on this ever so slightly. And I'm a good maybe 4 inches away. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be working on individual areas. See right here, you have the acromium process. I'm going to bring this down. Just working on this slowly. Some more light on the subject here. For me, you get that nice transition as that arm is turning, you know. And Gary says, how many pieces of art do you generally have in the works? It appears you have many. Oh man, Gary, I would say at any time I have 6 or 7, and that includes oil paintings, airbrush, pastel, India ink only, you know. And Ryan says he's got to check out early. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. Always a pleasure. I hope you have a great night. Now, what causes me to have a lot of different paintings is that I do online classes, you know, like the mentorship program. And with my students, they pretty much get to pick what they want to paint. And so, you know, I have a lot of different paintings going with my different students. I have my personal projects, the ones that I do, also ones that I do for collectors, commissions. So it's always going, you know. And Brad says he did a ninja and looks a bit different than Tim's. Oh, Brad, how's it going? I love your ninja. She's not a ninja, though. She's somebody who is doing graffiti on the walls, I think. Like on the subways and stuff. So she wants to, you know, have a mask to protect from all those paint fumes. And so I'm so glad you were here, Ryan. And Gary says, do you ever do an India ink demo on here? Funny you should say. For the first, I would say 4 years, from 2018 up until 2023, that's all I did, was the airbrush and India ink. And, you know, I worked only in black and white for a long time. And, well, when I say only, I mean, I did study and painted for many years, and then I just stopped working in color and worked in black and white only. That's where I developed the airbrush India inks, and it was really great because I learned about what viscosity is best for the airbrush, which was great. What's the best thickness of the paint, and working in India ink really teaches you that you have to have that consistency. And I just loved working in India ink only. It kind of gave me that control of the airbrush. Now, I was trained for 8 years in New York City at the National Academy School of Fine Arts, the Art Students League, and High School of Art and Design, Long Island University. So I was trained in color, worked in color for many years, and then something happened in my life. I stopped working in color, and now just started working in color in late 2023. So, or I would say late 2022, I started working in color again, and at first Mike says he thought Tim had a shield on her like that. Oh, oh, you mean on this? Oh, yes. So there is a shield, but now what exactly did you mean on that one? Because I'm kind of lost on that one, Michael. Forgive me. Uh, let's see. Oh, she's painting. Oh, oh, she's painting ninja symbols. Oh, that's right. That's pretty good there, Mr. Patrick. So I guess you thought that this was the shield, the background. Okay, cool. All right. I think I got that right. So notice that I'm staying in this area. Why am I staying in one arm? Is because if we are going to get the subtleties of the turning of the form, it's not good to move around. So we are just kind of working this back and forth until we get her right. So now I'm going to come back in with my orange and white mixture and kind of work in those lights once more. And you see how I'm just building up the flesh here. And then over here you can see right on the bottom of the deltoids it's much lighter. So I'm going to come in with that orange mixture and kind of get the subtlety of this here, and then replace that with the flesh color. And now I could let that dry and come over here. Oh, Michael says like the mask and all thought it was a shield. Oh, cool. And now I can actually kind of put this darker flesh tone, everything, kind of bring that together. Okay, so let's just lift this up and see how we feel about it. And I think we still have to put the dark, so maybe I'll do like an accordion type of thing here. Just lift it up so I don't have to redo it. So I'm going to stick with this arm, you know, and just kind of work it together. And let's peel it back, and so you can see that I'm really liking the way the arm is. It's a nice edge, and we're just going to continue working this. And now I'm going to come in with the dark. And Cheese Grit says, I'll see you tomorrow, Tim, fighting COVID. Oh, man. Oh, I'm so sorry, my friend. That really sucks. So take care of yourself. Lots of Tylenol. And I will see you tomorrow, Patrick. Thanks for stopping by, and I really hope you feel better, my friend. Ugh, I hate to hear that. You know, that has been coming back with a vengeance, and that's just so frustrating, you know. But feel better, my friend, and see you tomorrow, yes. Now, Patrick's one of my students, so we meet online, and JC says, good night, Tim. JC, are you leaving? Or are you saying good night to Cheese Grits and NyQuil? Because I know JC has to get up early in the morning for work, but hopefully JC's not leaving. Oh, Patrick, very cool, very cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out, okay, so now we have to find out and hit those darks, right? So I'm going to come back here, and we're going to find out what our dark is, which is going to be very close to the color we just put in. And this is like a rather rich, beautiful, dark brown. It's just so wonderful. And let's take a look at this. Wow, it's super dark and rich, and just love it. And has a lot of the same DNA, which is cool. And now let's... Okay, so we definitely can see what's going on with this color here. And very rich dark, almost black, you know. And let's see, we're going to put that in here. Now I do work really fast, you know, on when what I've been doing lately is just making myself slow down, you know, slow down a bit, you know, take it easy. And we still have the orange DNA. Usually you'll find that the skin usually will have the same DNA from the lights, the mediums, and the darks, unless there's like different lighting effects or something like that. But for the most part, you will see stuff like that. And we're going to do a 1-to-1 with water here, because remember what I learned from just painting in India ink, that it has to be inconsistency for it to go through your normal airbrush. There really is. See how beautiful that dark is, everybody? Oh, that's just so nice. Okay, so see how fast with the Gideon color theory method, how fast I'm getting these colors. You know, oh yes, I do have a lot of experience mixing colors. I give you that. However, not that fast, right? Not that fast. So you can just see how quick I am, which is great. Again, I'm going to leave that color in there. Why? Because it has the DNA of the mid-tone, so we'll leave that in there. A little bit can't hurt. You'll lighten it up, and then as you know, all of the lighter colors assimilated, when we come into the dark, we'll get a more full range of color, you know. Let the properties of airbrush work for you, right? You know, how it mixes in the cup, stuff like that. You know, let that really work together for you. And so we're just going to come over here and let's spray this. Okay. So again, you know, the Drew Blair method of, I mean, I've never had my airbrushes work so flawlessly before. It's absurd. But yeah, it's really nice. So, okay, so we have our darker color. Let me come over here. That was fast. All right, here goes nothing. Now, when you're coming in with the dark, be careful not to follow her breast, right? The dark is not going to follow her breast when it's on the arm. It's going to follow the contour of the arm. So make sure you do that. Don't make that mistake. And now you can see how we're hitting that dark. And you know what? It's all about getting beautiful contours. And you know, so yeah, so you might be asking, Tim, you don't move around as much, because it's important I get that arm right. That will give me, that will kind of vet me into, invest me into, you know, what kind of detail I'm looking for. Perpendicular and not parallel. See that? Get that beautiful dark right there. Put that right here. Okay, so I'm liking it. I'm going to dust a little bit of this dark right here. I'm going to be about 6 inches away. I'm just going to dust it just to get some of that kind of darker. Ah, Mr. Gary, thanks so much for hanging out. It's always a pleasure. And I just want to say I really appreciate your friendship and hanging out, and it just means the world to me, Gary. And I hope you have a great week. Maybe I'll see you at Steve's live stream tomorrow, I hope. Take care, my friend. And so that's great. It's always great to see Gary. So Gary rocks. And so very cool. Very happy to see Gary. As I'm happy to see everybody, of course. But you guys are all just, you know, you just make my Wednesdays really, really good. And it's a very lonely world now. And now to have friends online, people might say having online friends doesn't mean anything. Well, it means something to me, that's for sure. Okay, so now I'm happy with it. And so I may come in, but I'm just going to continue with this. So let's move this aside and see how we like it with the darks, right? Maybe we'll like it. Move these magnets away. And we're going to start working on the other arm and just kind of, you know, how do I paint flesh? That's what this is about, you know? And using that white mixture is really important. Okay, so you see how nice and beautiful that arm is now. I still have the white mixture. So let's say it's a little broken up, right? I don't like how it's broken up. I can always come back in with my white mixture, especially with the, you know, with the freehand shields taken away. And I can kind of clean up those edges a little bit. Soften things up where it might be a little harsh. But definitely slow it down, right? And you see how I can really shape her arm. That's a little, and think compression, right? Compress those values. You know, we might see contrast where there isn't contrast. Just make sure that's not happening. So compress those values. And that's where you're going to get that realism you're looking for. Now, I'm not talking about photorealism. This is a whole different ball game. This would be like classical realism. How Lefay and Bouguereau, how they would do it if they were working in Airbrush. And then hit this little bit of light right here. We're just going to hit that. And I want it to kind of radiate out, so I'm going to increase my distance. And then I can kind of get that soft highlight. And right here, it's a lot lighter. So think of compression of values. And then we can come back in with color later. Compress those values. Okay, so that's that arm right there. I do have a little more work, but I'm happy with that thus far. And we're going to come in. So that's called a form pass, right? We just went in there looking to see how the form is and coming back. And let's see. Tone says, I agree with you, Tim. Online friends can't hurt. Exactly, man. I mean, they're friends. You guys are friends. And I appreciate that. We support each other, you know, and that's what's important, you know. And that's, to me, that's a friend. That's a definition of a friend to me. So now, I want to go ahead and jump on over to this arm. So you see, I pretty much got what I wanted to do. But looking at this on second thought, I do see that this right here is a little strong. So I'm just going to dust my orange and white mixture a little bit, just like that. And just to get a little more sense of form. Maybe a little bit lighter up here. There we go. So now let's go to our other arm. So remember how I said this was working is that sometimes you might have a shield that fits perfectly, but then over time you make adjustments, it shrinks, humidity, whatnot, and it doesn't fit both. So you're going to have to do one side at a time. And Mr. Dwayne says he made an online friend from Nigeria and he'll soon be rich. Oh, that must be the same friend I have. That is cool. And so that's great. And let's see. Very cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and we're going to work on this arm here. And we're going to go in the same manner, but remember, there's a light side and a shadow side, right? So this is the light side. So we're going to work a little bit different. Everything's a little bit darker here. So you might have the same dynamic range from light to dark, but what will be different is what's your lightest value and your darkest value. And in the shadow side, you're going to have less values than in the light side. And we'll just put this here. Go. Put one right there. Okay, so now maybe put one magnet right here. Okay, so the next thing is we are going to use the white mixture the orange and white mixture, but everything else is in shadow, so there's really only one place, one small place to use that light mixture, and that's right here. So we're just going to very, very lightly hit this area right there, right? Just ever so lightly. Whoop, she's kind of crooked. There we go. Well, the picture's crooked. She's fine. Okay, there we go. And just a little bit light there. So now we have to, so Michael says, Tim, these are different kind of muscles and bones than what you're used to on the face portraits. Yes, definitely. This is a lot more, you know, your biceps, your triceps, your clavicle, your sternocleidomastoid, your pectoralis major. A lot of other things going on here, which is really great. So I do love that. I do paint full figure, from head to toe portraits and paintings, and it really adds a lot of character. Now there's a different mid-tone in here. I think it might be the same, so this mid-tone that we worked here could be the same color. I'm going to check it out really quick. No use mixing up a new color if you already mixed it. So I'm going to check this out and bring it over here. Whoop. Bring it over here. Very close. So we're going to take our next darkest color, and so we're going to empty out our dark color here. Put that back in here. You always want to work light to dark in airbrush because of the obvious factors, you know, the fact that there is blue shift. So when you work lighter, it does cause shift. So you always want to work light to dark, and if you have to lighten it up, you always use your orange and white mixture, and that usually does the trick. There are examples, or how should you say, there's always an exception to every rule. So you always want to, one of the things I love doing when I'm working is I like having a practice piece. If I'm working on a big important painting, I'll have a small practice piece that I do my experiments with color. And if it doesn't work on the experiment painting, I know not to do it on my painting. So it's kind of a warning system. So here's that second color that I have. I'm going to put a little bit of that in, and I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of the light color in there. Because remember, these colors have the same DNA, right? So, see my lighter color? We're going to put a little bit of that in here. Just, we were talking a smidgen. There we go. That might be too much, most likely it is. But it's good to start light and then go darker. So really isn't, I don't usually mix into the cup. This is a rarity. You probably won't see this again for a very long time. I don't like doing that. Just personal preference. Okay, so now we have to darken this arm on the left side. And let's see, we'll come over here. Alright, so we're going to darken. So remember that light works interesting. It goes from up and down to left and right. So we don't just have to worry about the lights on the left to right, but also if the light's on the left and higher, we have to worry about the light getting darker or the light getting weaker as we move down. So Brad and I, in the mentorship program, we are working on a master copy of a 19th century French academic painter, Jules Joseph Lefebvre, and it's really exciting to see the techniques, different techniques, and how subtle they were. This is a nice kind of soft mid-tone. And you can see just how much darker it is on this side than that side, right? So we're done with our first hour of this live stream, which is great. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Really appreciate everybody. You all are so amazing, super amazing actually. Now why don't I just go ahead and, you know, work the whole areas, because when we're working on one area we can really see the subtle shifts, right? We can really look at them. And now what we can do is we have our orange mixture. Any area that you might want to lighten up just a bit, you can. And come back. And so what you also can do is that a lot of these colors are transparent. I work in opaque, but they do still have transparent tendencies because of how thin the airbrush will apply the color. If you go over with a second color, you can make it richer, but since I work in you know, opaque colors, I don't have that ability. So what I'll do is, once I have that down, I can come in and do a glaze over this or just darken that. Now we do have that rich dark again, right? So let's see if we can start it with this. But before we do that, let's make sure everything is dry. Since I have this color in my airbrush, I might want to enrich some of these areas here. Okay. Now, let's come here. I might have to come in with the dark. I don't know. One of the things with portraits that you always got to remember, you don't have to figure it out right away, right? Just keep working. If you do something and it doesn't quite work out, just keep at it, right? Just keep going. Don't give up. It's really important not to give up. I'm going to take a quick look at how this is looking. Maybe it's too light, maybe it's too dark. We're going to see. And pull this up. Let's see. I'm suspecting that I may have to lighten this up. And let's see. So yeah, that arm on the left is a little too dark, but it's nothing to worry about, right? It's nothing we can't fix. Michael says, Tim, so this portrait of the girl was caught on camera vandalizing the subway. Yes, and the other one was sleeping on the subway, right? So definitely a theme. I must be hanging around the subway lately. That's it, right? That's so funny. I'm going to go ahead and lighten this up a little bit because I did go a little too dark in the midtones, right? So let me come over here so I can see what you all are seeing. A little too dark in the midtones. So let me lighten this up with the orange mixture a little bit. And then I can come in with some richer color. And then hit the darks. So I have to lighten this up, but I can keep some of the darker colors for contrast. And Michael says, Tim, these are, let's see, Dwayne says he's working on a graffiti style project like now, and it's kind of a pain. Oh, wow. Well, graffiti's not easy, right? You know? I mean, those graffiti artists are quite talented, some of them. Back in the day, when I was in high school, that was in the heyday of graffiti, and some of the best artists in the whole school at the High School of Art and Design were graffiti artists. is so amazing, you know. I'm going to go ahead and kind of come in with this richer earth color here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with the fleshy color of before. And we'll clean this out. Lots of napkins, lots of paint on my hands. And here's this lighter color here. And I'm using, for the colors today, I'm using Extreme Patriot Arrow, not the 105. 105 I'm reserving for the orange mixture. So very cool. Alright, let's see. And you know, it's going to take a lot of going back and forth, so don't worry about it. You know, it's like you don't have to get it right the first time. So now I'm coming back and making some of that kind of orangey blue shift, kind of bringing it back. And we're always going to be adjusting the color. Same thing on this side, right? Now that I'm looking at this side over here, it can have a little richer skin tone. And you see, it's not something you have to get right away. You know, there's no points for getting it the first time, you know. I mean, it's cool if you get it the first time, but it makes no difference in the finished work, right? So always remember that. And just kind of blow dry that a little bit. Let the paint catch up to the surface. That's something David Morton used to say when I took his classes. There we go. And now I'm going to come in with some of that dark and just continue working back and forth. Here, I think we definitely can lighten this up here. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to lighten up this arm here on this side, and then come in with richer color. So now that we're here, we can kind of lift this up and kind of work a little more freehand on these two arms here. Take these off. Okay, so now you can see, like, you know, my thinking, you know, what's going on in my mind. Sometimes I wonder what's going on in my mind. Oh, Mr. Gregory, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. It's so great to see you. How was Hershey this weekend? That's amazing. So, Mr. Dave, all the way from Texas. It's always great to see you, sir. And that is, and thank you so much for your compliment there. It's just kind of creating a balance with lightening this arm and getting a little bit of blue shift. But I just want to thank you for your support and friendship, Mr. Dave. I mean, it means so much to me. I mean, I'm beyond words, and you know, the fact that you take time on your busy week to hang out with us on Wednesday is just beyond, it's just amazing. So thank you so much, sir, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with the Airbrush India inks. I know you'll do great things, definitely. And Dwayne says he's just trying to power through it quickly. Oh, wow. And so Dwayne says, oh, with the graffiti, definitely. Dwayne says, so double hard, no pay, no like. And Dwayne also says, Oh, it was a great time with the family at Hershey. That is so great. I'm so glad to hear that. And just sharing the love with those who share talent with the community. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate you, Mr. Gregory. Always a pleasure. And so right now, it got a little bit of a blue shift here. I'll be honest with everybody. But the thing is, we don't panic. Well, I might panic a little bit, but I won't show it, you know? And just gonna lighten this up. So there's nothing we can't fix, right? And so we're just going to lighten this up here. And then right here, we definitely have to lighten up here. And I'm even going to lighten up where the shadow is. And I may need to add one more drop of orange. That's 2 drops. That's not good. So we're going to have to add more of this white mixture here. Kind of increase this mixture here. And see if we can get more of white as opposed to the blue shift that's actually happening here. And you know, we have to attack blue shift, right? Not to be afraid of it. So I added more orange, and we're going to see if there's an effect. Okay, so right here, we're going to try it, get rid of what's in front of the airbrush there. Okay, so you can see it's not as blue. So I added more orange. So this is a darker color on this side of the arm, you know. Oh, Mr. Gregory is his father. Okay, Dave. I'll make sure that's funny. And so cool. So thanks everyone for hanging out on this Wednesday evening. So you see how I added more white, and all of a sudden things are looking a little more palatable. I added more orange, I should say, to the white mixture. And now things are a lot less crazy. And even if I had to go over it again with more white mixture, it's all good. So there's no reason to get worried, you know? See, right here we have that dark mixture. So what I have to do is just make sure that I stay calm, right? And realize that it's not a sprint. And now I have this is the mid-tone or the light. Let's see what color this is. We got to be careful with it because if we put the wrong color in, then we can just create more blue shifts. We don't want to do that. So this is a very light mixture here. I'm just going to lightly add it here, where it's just slightly lighter. Then we're going to come in with the mid-tone after this. Make sure that everything is working correctly here. Okay, so it is working, right? You see how we're getting rid of that kind of scary color that we had before. But there's no reason why I can't continue, you know, working the light mixture. I'm going to enrich the color here. There we go. And now we're going to come back in here. We're going to come in with the mid-tone, kind of bring that over. So now I'm going to dump this out. Because remember, one color, which is our flesh tone, right? Our one, what, this is the light color. One color is, one airbrush is just for the light mixture in orange, because we're using that back and forth so much that we need one airbrush just dedicated to that. And because we just keep having to work back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so now let's put this in here. And we're going to leave a little bit of the other color in there on purpose. I'm about 6 inches away. And you see how I'm starting to get the richness of the color. But I'm pretty far away, maybe 4 inches away, and I'm kind of at an angle, so it's kind of spraying obliquely onto the surface. So you see how I'm getting her flesh color back? So even if you do get any kind of blue shift, it's okay, attack the blue shift, right? And let's see, Michael says, Tim, these other paintings that I have works pretty good also. So using the orange and white mixture, right? So I think to start out with is 20 drops of the illustration white, do a 1-to-1 mixture of water, and then 2 drops of the illustration orange, and you should be okay. And like I said, your bottle of white could vary. It could be stronger, so that mixture might be totally different at that point. So always test it out. You might have to add another drop of orange. And remember, if it's much darker, then it's going to react differently as well. But you see how I brought back that flesh color? And that's something easily that you can do too. You just have to, you know, we just have to be calm, you know? I mean, we're working in a medium that most people can't. Even, you know, oil painters can't work in this medium. So you know the pitfalls, but you also know what's the beautiful part of this medium. These beautiful blends that you can't get in anything else. We can paint on anything if we want, right? That's another great thing. I'm going to be about 6 inches away. I'm just going to dust on this light because it's a little too blue and kind of bring that back. Now, I'm going to use a freehand shield here. You know, it's funny. It's a lot of changing color, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all part of working in the airbrush, you know. When you are really cooking with gas, you're going to be changing colors pretty quickly, from mid-tone to dark to light, that sort of thing. I like to crawl along the surface, right? Add some richness to this kind of dull gray I have here. And then I'm going to come in with the dark, and it's going to be looking really good. But there really isn't much of a dark here. So I'm just going to hit it with this saturated color. Hit it really well. There, so I'm just going to saturate. So that's the thing. Remember, hue, saturation, chroma, right? So it was awful, the hue was off, right? It was awful cold. So that was off. The saturation, it was awful gray. That was the value. And we're just going to keep working until we get it. But look how her arm's starting to come, right? It's starting to come. But we're going to stick with it and stay with it. That's important to do, you know? And so that is cool. So keep at it, you know, and let it dry. Let the paint catch up to the surface, right? It's so important to do that. Saturation over here. A lot of saturation in this dark here. And can always lighten it up later, but you want to get that saturation. Okay, I have this beautiful dark here, so there's no way around it. I'm going to have to empty out this airbrush again. Spray it out. I'm going to clean it a little bit because I need a really rich dark along the crease of her pectoral going into where her bicep and deltoid kind of meet. It's not our breast, it's the pectoral. That's her breast. Let's see, so we'll come over here. Put this here. Lots of airbrushing tonight, right guys? Guys and girls, lots of airbrushing. So I like to, keep switching it up. Some totally airbrush live streams, some lots of paintbrush. Sometimes I'm not sure what it's going to be until we're actually working. Okay, so one of the considerations is we have a shadow, right, from the pectoral. What side's the light and what side's the dark, right? And the dark is definitely to the left side and the light. So we have to position our freehand shield accordingly. Make sure it's wiped off. Come right here. And we're going to spray perpendicular and not parallel. And notice how we got that pectoral. Now, where it's like super dark, we may come in with a paintbrush technique. But right now we're getting that sort of shape of a pectoral from this side to that side. And then right here, we have the dark coming up, just like so. And, okay, so we have this beautiful dark here. It's going to come right up to the edge. I'm going to use my freehand shield here. And let's see if I missed any comments. Okay, very cool. Perpendicular and not parallel. We're just going to get that nice dark around the edge here. So when you're airbrushing a portrait or a figure like this, you have to have a little bit of like just total calculated and pragmatic, but also a little bit of, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going down this road, And that's sort of it, you have to have a little bit of reckless abandon too. So I can come in with this brown knowing that I could just fix it later, right? Now this is illustration colors, and if you notice I'm not one for erasing, but let's try it, okay? So we have this eraser here, and then this is still a little too wet, but let's move on over to the other side. Now I use shellac paper, so it's not geared for erasing, but that's mostly by design. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of do some erasing techniques here, see how it goes. I am using the illustration paint, and it seems to be working, which is great. I can bring this over here. But remember, I don't have white paper underneath, so a lot of times it might be a darker color that's being pulled up. So that's why my work is not geared for that. It's just, I wasn't taught that way. So underneath that is not going to be white because I'm not working with white paper. I'm working with gray paper. And some might say, well, what's the advantage of working on gray paper is that I have a mid-tone that I can gauge what my darkest darks and lightest lights will be. So for the white of paper to work, you have to have white background or white paper for the erasing techniques to work. I mean, I can use it a little bit, but very sparingly. And so I have this sort of eraser right here. I'm just going to very lightly. And like I said, it's something that I use sparingly. And don't go by me. That's just my preference, you know, my background as far as being a painter, you know. And Dave says, I was surprised at how dark the paper is when I saw it. Yes, it's a beautiful mid-tone. It's like a number 5 gray, Dave, and it's great because you can definitely gauge, you know, okay, it's darker than gray, darker than the paper, and then if it's, you know, lighter than number 5, then you know, you can really gauge the value a lot easier. And that's what the old masters used to do. They used to do these drawings on tinted paper. And it's sort of like a shortcut method. It's like using a flesh color as opposed to mixing a flesh color, right? It's a shortcut. And that's basically it. Now, the way that I'm working tonight is no shortcuts. It's basically just hitting the ground running with this. What I can do with this is I can soften some of the values with this, right? I can kind of soften it, but having the gray of the paper, I can't erase in the typical, you know, subtractive detail that other artists use. But I'm totally content with just finding the color and painting it, right? And then right here it's lighter, so let's see if this works. So erasing is great, but it's really predicated on having a lighter color underneath. So let's say you did a lighter color over the dark color and you erase it, you're basically going to get the darker color underneath. So it kind of defeats the purpose. But I'm more of a fan of painting it in. That's just me though. Not the right way, not the wrong way, just Tim's way. Remember, before I ever touched an airbrush, I was working many years in oil paint and pastel, colored pencil. So I come in with a different set of tools, different set of skills. Or as Liam Neeson says, I have a certain skill set, you know, or a particular skill set. So here I have the orange mixture, and it's allowing me, so you see, can you guys see exactly like what my thinking is? Continue working back and forth until I get that tonal framework that best exemplifies what I'm painting. And I can always change the hue and the chroma, or the hue and saturation, right? But I'm sort of getting the feeling of the forms turning, right? That's so important. Dwayne says it's all about your style and what you're used to. Very true. And you should try doing it over jet black. That is cool. I never did a painting over black. That would be a lot of fun. How do you like working on over black? Does it really test your skills, Mr. Dwayne? You see how I'm bringing back that arm again? And little by little, I'm going to get to the point where I can be like, okay, it has the hue, the saturation, and the value. Perfect. And I'm also compressing the value so she doesn't have too much contrast, right? You don't want her to have too much contrast. Too much contrast, basically, she starts looking less realistic and more cartoony. I mean, it's still going to have her realism, but it's not going to have that, oh my God, I thought she was real kind of feeling. And that's what we want. So right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill the contrast a little bit over here using this white mixture. And I'm going to work on this and then come back in with this value here. Get the, we have the value, going to get the chroma over here. And Dwayne says, not after you get used to it, the more about laying in your white. Wow, that's cool. So definitely a different mindset, I would think. But once you get used to it, it's just a different way of getting where you're going, right? So right here, the value differential needs to be a little more compressed here. Who cares what it looks like during the process? No one cares what it looks like during the process. As long as you're, you know what your goals are, what you're fixing, you know? Now here, since we compensated for the darker area and added more orange, we're getting more of an orange instead of a white. But that's okay because it's kind of blending into what's happening with her flesh, so it's no problem. We're going to lighten this side here. See that? Just lighten that up. And we want to make sure that, you know, we feel the light on her arms and her chest and her shoulders. And let that dry. It's a lot easier to paint without the shield, I'll tell you that much. It gets in the way of the vision sometimes. Now over here it's nice and dark, but I just want to get the edge work here. Okay. Let's see. Dwayne says, painting a lot of motorcycle or painted parts, you have to work in reverse. That is so cool. So you start with a dark, you know, like a dark motorcycle tank or something, and that's important. You see, she's starting to look good. Then we're going to come back in and kind of tighten up this area, her shirt and everything's gonna, and then once I'm done here I can move to the other area. Now what do I have in the airbrush? I don't know. Let's see, is it the mid-tone, I think? Oh, it's that dark, okay. Let's see. That was a little harsh, so we might fix that a little bit. And again, we'll use our freehand shield here and put this right over here. There we go. And a little harsh there, so let's see if I can come in with the white and just chill this out. And now this dark, where do I see that? I'm okay with it, but let's get one of our paintbrushes out and see if we can do a little paintbrush action for us here. I'm going to take right from from here. And we'll see if this works. See if I can pull some black here. Whoop, right there. Don't like that too much. You can just wipe that right away. That looks horrible. But we can always come back. Let's go on this side here. There we go. So the lines really help. I mean, as far as, you know, taking things to that next level, you know, adding the linear aspects is really good. That's a little closer to black, so let me add a little bit of a darker gray here. Oh, we have, so that was kind of a mid-tone we were playing with. How about that? Okay, let's see if this is better. Oh yeah, much better. Much more rich, right? We'll bring this over. Perfect. Okay. Well, not perfect, but good. Dwayne says, you don't get to choose the color you're working on. You just have to adapt. Yes, that is so true. And, you know, you custom painters out there, you're amazing. I mean, you guys and girls have a skill set that, you know, right now is above my head. And let's do something the French academics used to do. We're going to actually paint a dark outline around this. So I'm liking what's going on, right? You can see how I'm kind of working back and forth until I get that surface texture where I really feel like, okay, you know, the back and forth, I'm getting the idea of skin and bones and muscles and tendons and how they all work together to kind of have that tonal framework, and also getting the shifts of color and value. Dwayne says, I can paint like you do either. Oh, he says, I can't paint like you do either. Why I like watching so much. We all have strengths, right? And that's it. You know, we draw from each other's strengths, and we make each other, we make all of us ourselves better painters, right? That's really cool. And let's come back here. There we go. Okay, so now what we can do is, let me just come over here. No, this is too harsh, so I don't want to go there with the harshness of it, especially with the black. Maybe I can do that with this lighter color, you know, maybe that would be okay. Maybe to add some structure here, just a little bit. I mean, that's okay. You know, we do have these dark pockets where the sternocleidomastoid is coming out so much it has a shadow as it turns away. And this is that mid-tone I've been using, right? So it's a little harsh, but we'll come back to it. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's see, I think we had something where we can work in this breast area, kind of lighten everything up there. Let's see. So I really enjoy hanging out with everybody. I mean, thank you so much hanging out with me on this Wednesday. We do have 19 minutes left, so I always like giving you all the full 2 hours when I'm feeling good, you know? And hopefully I'll be feeling good every week. So we're going to work on this breast area here of hers. It's true, I don't see things as clearly with this over there, but you know, I want to protect the shirt, her shirt. We gotta orientate this correctly. Orientation. There we go. So that's a beautiful beautiful shield right there. So we're going to come in with the orange and white mixture right here. And let's see. And then next week we can, you know, maybe, you know, work a little deeper in this. We might do the train girl, depending. So now watch as I'm coming in with this white mixture. We're setting up for flesh color. We're turning that form of her breast as it turns away from the light and then turns towards the light. And this side, right from here, there's a blast of light. And I'm coming at it from the side because that's what the light's doing. It's kind of, light doesn't follow the form. It brushes across the form, right? So it's not following the form. It's going to brush across the form. And it's coming from the upper right, so that means it's going to come from the upper right and kind of come down in that direction. See that? It's going to come down in that direction. By doing that, automatically you get the feeling of the three dimensions. It's really quite cool. Lately I've been painting like 8 hours a day, literally, either in airbrush or oil, but really working on just a very high level. When you're working every day and, you know, doing like 8 hours a day, whether it's airbrush or any other medium, it's all the same, it's all connected. And, you know, you start seeing things much clearer. Okay, so that's where we have now, and I believe we have this super dark color in here. Yes, we do. So we're not going to hit the super dark color because we have to work from light to dark. So let's go ahead and dump this out. And very good. So we definitely are having fun with this. Let me see if I can lighten her up a little bit. Okay, now look how dirty my hands is. That's a rarity. But we're doing like airbrush work, right? We're working on form, so that's a lot of work. It's not a little bit of work. So we're going to come in here. I'm going to put some water in it because it's so dark. It will really beat up our mid-tone, right? So we don't want our mid-tone beat up. So always know, guys, I have the mentorship program where you can have one-on-one classes with me over the internet. We can work on projects together, work around your schedule, 2 hours a week, and it's just a lot of fun. My students learn so much. I just have a great time with you all. And so now we have this mid-tone here. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna just go for it. Let's see with this mid. So I'm gonna add a tiny bit of this light color. Here's the orange mixture. We don't want to put that in there. That would not be good, my friends. But a little bit of this color here. Couldn't hurt. Because they have the same DNA. If you mix the two of them, you're gonna have the perfect mid-tone. But Drew Blair's technique, I super highly recommend it. Look how my airbrushes were, you know, just working on all cylinders. I never cleaned it. I just got rid of the color, right? Everybody got rid of the color, and you know, make sure that it was flowing clean. When it was flowing clean, I wiped out the cups, put water in it, and left it there for like 2 days. And thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate that. Dwayne said, and thank you so much. And so the airbrushes are really humming with Drew Blair's technique of keeping them with water. Really something. And that was my own thing. I had to see it for myself. So I was like, wait a minute. Okay. I think I'm okay with this. I may come, so we don't want to leave just yet, right? So maybe I'm going to be like maybe 6 inches away and I'm going to dust this. See, as I'm 6 inches away and I dust it, I'm not getting the full mid-tone. It's just kind of raining on top of that, which is nice. Then I can come in and come close and really get a much darker value. I don't think any other paint medium can do something like that. Then I can come back in with the white, which is really cool. And let's see. And we'll just move this over. I have the white mixture here. I'm going to come back in. Oh, and Mr. Dave says that once the compressor arrives and the RV studio is set up, I will reach out about the mentorship. Oh, that would be amazing, Mr. Gregory, or Dave. Not Mr. Gregory, Dave. That would be amazing. And you know what? I work on your schedule. So this is great. So let's say 1 week, you know, you have something to do with business or whatever, and you could be like, Tim, can we switch a day? And that's no problem. I always switch a day with you guys and girls who are in the mentorship program. And let's say 1 week you can't make it, and then we double up the second week. So it's great. It really, you know, it's really geared for, you know, for people who, you know, want to paint and, you know, don't have the chunks of time all like on one day or a certain day, or that day changes. So that's great. So I'm really looking forward to that. That would be such a great opportunity for me and a great honor to have you in the mentorship program, sir. That's very exciting. Very cool. Okay, so now I'm going to lift this up and see how it looks. And that's the thing with this, right? You're going to keep going. We're not afraid, right? We're going to keep attacking. And I'm liking that, right? It's not perfect. I got to go back in, of course, but it's not perfect. And that's how the, let's see how she looks here. Just make sure I don't knock my paint over on everything. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dave says, why does that not surprise him? I'm always working to improve the community. Thank you. I really do. I mean, I know what it's like to, you know, as we're grown-ups, we have other responsibilities and everything, and jobs with different hours, and, you know, that has to be done. And we still want to, we still want to paint, we still want to take classes. So I always try to accommodate adults, to, you know, that it's not always easy. So I try and make it easy for you guys. And I have some people in my mentorship program for 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 2 years. So people stay with me because they know I'm on their side and they know that their education is what's most important, and that is so important to me. And so that's why I love teaching. I really love the fact that, it's, school is not just for 17-year-olds, right? It's for everybody. And, it's like we should have schools that work around schedules in a much greater sense. I think that's important. All right, guys, so this is where we are right now, and let's see what we can do. I'm going to come in with that mid-tone, and we're going to see if we can kind of dust over here. Do I need to do that? You know what I'm thinking of doing? This is my thought process here. So where is this mid-tone? So here's the mid-tone. What I'm thinking of doing is coming in with a transparent color and kind of dusting over this. And that's the great thing about acrylic, is that it dries almost immediately. If this was oil, I would have to wait at least 24 hours to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a transparent color, and sort of like a red iron oxide would probably be good here. And let's see. And I'm thinking Wicked, right? Here, oh, look at this. Wicked red iron oxide right in front of me. It's a sign. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this over here. And this is 4011 territory, right? So this is not water. I'm going to put a couple of drops here. And we want a nice thin consistency. So here's your friend and mine, 4011. We're going to go ahead and do a 2-to-1, maybe even a 3-to-1. And we're going to use my little thing here. So I want to do a glaze, right? And a glaze is when you do a transparent color over a lighter opaque color. Look at how beautiful and transparent that is. And then you look at here and how opaque that is, right? So now we're switching to transparent. And that's another consideration. When I have my classes, we definitely go over the differences of transparent and opaque colors and when to use what. And that's a very important consideration, because they both have their place. Definitely. And so let's see. So right now I have this, and I just want to do a dusting. And I'm going to dust right here on the right side of her breast there. And notice how that really changes the color. It brings more life, right? But still maintains the detail underneath. Now I'm going to be about 3.5 to 4 inches away. And there's an ever so slight shift there. And right here, underneath this clavicle, and I'm about 5 inches away. So that it gives me the ability to get super light there. Same thing here. I'm just going to do this light transparent. And this is a fully transparent color to detail. This is Wicked Deep. Just Wicked red iron oxide, or red oxide, and it's really great because it's almost like a candy if you think about it that way. Dwayne says it's surprising how many don't know the difference between opaque and transparent and their use. It's true, and it's definitely something to master, because as you can see, I don't have to. If I want this a little bit more brown, I don't have to go and paint the whole thing over. I could just do this transparent oxide color, and it does exactly what I want without having to reinvent the wheel. The ends justify the means, am I right? You know, if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter how you got there. And notice how rich these colors are becoming. And that's the beauty of it. And then we can come over here on this arm here. Whoop. This arm right here, kind of. And the distance is really important because you want it to be super transparent and super soft. You can always build on it, right? You know, that's the whole thing. You can always build on this. So if I'm like 6 inches away, I'm being super subtle. And then on this side as well. I can always adjust that background. So I'm really not worried about being so precious with this, because I'm painting this as if I'm working on a regular painting, an oil painting, right? I'm going back and forth. Nothing's too precious that I can't go ahead and rework it, right? So that's important. Right over here, we got very light here. And then, you know, we're working up here on her face, right? So it's okay, even though we're going to rework it. Let's go ahead and unify this by bringing in some of this red oxide color to her face. Kind of unifies everything. Well, it definitely unifies everything. But all this is made possible by going back and forth with that orange mixture, white and orange mixture, right? To have the guts to make a mistake, right? You know, don't be so precious. Make that mistake. You have that orange and white mixture to bail you out. So let's say you're using the orange and white mixture just as a review of tonight, and you're getting a blue shift even with the orange and white mixture, then just add more orange. Where I came in with the paintbrush really was not a strong thing to do. I should have just stayed with the airbrush. That would have probably been the best thing to do. Ah, Brad, thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Mr. Todd, have a great night. Feel better with that COVID, my friend. I am just feeling so bad that you got it. And such a bummer, you know? Feel better. That sucks. I'm going back in with that white mixture, you know, just working this back and forth. Just as if I was oil painting, right? I'm bold, you know, you want to have a sense of boldness when you're working, right? Don't worry so much. Don't be so precious. Attack that blue shift, right? That blue shift is nothing compared to you. And attack, you know, compressing those values, right? And that's okay. Hey, look, when I come here, it might be a little bit of a blue shift there. That's okay. I can come in with a little bit more orange in my white mixture and solve that problem, right? And Dwayne, have a great night. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate you, sir. And it's always great to hear your expertise. I love to hear more about you know, how you do the working on the black with the white. That sounds amazing. I'd love to see more of that. So that's good. Guys, we made it to 11:30. Thank you so much, everybody. So this is pretty much where we are at, and we can see that we have a long way to go. But at least we are, you know, building up this, kind of lightening things up, going back and forth until we get it right, you know? And eventually we're going to get this surface texture that's really going to be great, you know? and so that's really fantastic, and so that's cool. Dave says Michael McClung that he found. Dave said he found Michael McClung. That's cool. And Raul, how you doing? Have a great night, sir. Always a pleasure. So glad you're here, fellow Jersey guy. So thank you so much, Mr. Dave, for the super chat. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. You guys are all amazing. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow on Steve Leahy's live stream at 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. Take care, everybody. God bless.